A Lexington man is shot and killed while sleeping in his bed. Now police are trying to figure out who did it.
9 people shot and 3 have died from the shootings here in Lexington. Next, hear what the loved ones of the victims are saying about stopping the violence.
Coming this fall is a new residence hall to Transylvania University, with 2 more on the way.
Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 5.
Good afternoon. The violence continues in Lexington with 2 more shootings overnight. 1 turned into a homicide.
Since Sunday, there have been 5 different shootings in the city. 9 people have been shot, 3 have been killed. The most recent shooting was this morning on Gerald Drive. A man was shot and killed while sleeping in his own bed. WKYT Sean Moody is tracking the investigation in our top story at 5.
Police were out here for hours overnight collecting evidence and trying to find clues that will help them figure out who shot and killed Thomas Brown while he was asleep in his bed. The shooting happened around 2 o'clock this morning. Police said someone went up to the back and side windows of the Browns' house and fired shots inside. Police said Brown was asleep in bed with his wife at the time. He was hit 3 or 4 times in his legs and abdomen. His wife wasn't hurt, but Brown died at UK Hospital.
He's a good man and he didn't deserve none of this. He did not deserve this.
That's what people who knew Brown said. No one could think of anyone who would have a problem with him. His ex-wife, Karen Brown, said he was a Marine and later worked at the VA hospital.
I'm just so lost for words because, you know, I've always loved him and I just feel like that I've lost my best friend and everything, and I just can't believe I'm not going to see him anymore.
Police were out at the house all morning collecting evidence and searching for clues. They haven't said whether or not anyone saw a shooter. The people who live along Gerald Drive said they don't want the Winburn neighborhood to be defined by violence.
And we try and listen out for each other, watch out for each other, good neighborhood. We have no more problems than anybody else does. People think that it's in somebody else's neighborhood and that's a bad neighborhood. Winburn is no worse than any neighborhood in the city. It just happened to have happened here to us this time.
And police haven't said anything about any possible motives in this case. In Lexington, Sean Moody, WKYT.
Well, police said someone shot at another man inside the house, but he wasn't hurt. 3 people were wounded by gunfire last night during a drive-by shooting on Breathitt Avenue. Police say 2 adults and a juvenile were hit while sitting on a front porch. The shooting happened just a few blocks from the scene of 2 deadly murders on Sunday. Police say 2 victims were shot in the leg, the other in the foot. None of them were seriously injured.
The violence has to stop. That's the message from a woman who shares a son with one of the victims killed Sunday night in Lexington. As WKYT's Jordan Valines reports, the woman is now trying to find the words to tell her grandchild his grandfather is gone.
Recently, the number of shootings has spilled throughout Lexington streets at an alarming rate.
It's sad now you're going to have grandchildren and children growing up without their grandparents because of this stuff.
In just 3 days' time, 9 people have been shot, and 3 of them have died from their injuries. Ronnie Graves is one of those victims, and he shared a son with Becky Spillman, who is now shaken, sickened by the recent crime wave.
He hadn't even got out of his car, and then he's dead, you know, and then it's hard to tell your child that their father is not coming back because of some stupidity that could happen in anybody's family.
Becky says she doesn't know what started the violence, but she knows that it needs to stop.
God has put us down here for a purpose, and it wasn't to kill each other.
Spillman now calling for an end to the violence that took the lives of her loved ones far too soon.
If we're going to live life, let's live life, not take it away.
In Lexington, Jordan Valines, WKYT.
Becky Spillman says she plans to take part in a peace walk that will be held next week in an effort to stop the violence.
Testimony is now underway in the trial of a Lexington man accused of sexually assaulting a co-worker. Police say Clyde Sexton took advantage of Melissa Clyde Smiley after she passed out at a strip club on Winchester Road in 2013. She died a few days later. Her husband is now suing Sexton and the strip club's owner. Sexton is charged with sexual abuse and tampering with evidence. The trial is expected to go to the jury tomorrow.
Well, the heat and humidity are returning, and a few storms have fired up across the region.
WKYT Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey is tracking the storms for us on the First Alert Defender. Hi, Chris.
Hi, Amber. Hi, Jennifer. Starting to see a little scattered action across the Bluegrass region as of now. And if you look at our live sky cam, you can see the back edge of one of those little thunder showers just to the south of the Hamburg Pavilion area. Right now in Lexington, that temperature has dropped to 81 degrees because of the nearby showers and storms. Even though it's not raining in Lexington, we're getting in on a little more cloud cover and some cooler conditions out there. So that's what we're going to be dealing with over the next several days. We've got live First Alert Defender with some clouds into the mix. Where we're blowing up a few of those clouds, obviously that's where Defender is picking up on the scattered shower and thunderstorm action. It's going to increase a bit over the next few hours south of Interstate 64 especially. The problem with whatever's out there, well, A, they're very small. B, they're not moving a whole heck of a lot. So if you get one to go up over your house, over your neighborhood, probably going to sit there for a little while. This storm to the southwest of Lawrenceburg, sitting there just to the north of the Bluegrass Parkway. Another little cell has popped up right on top of Harrodsburg, kind of sitting there, and another one in the northern sections of the Garrett County area. Here's the cell that has caused the cooler air to invade Lexington, cooler by a few degrees. It's on top of Nicholasville into eastern parts of Jessamine County. That'll cruise over into southern parts of Fayette County. Another slow mover on the southeastern side of Clark County, right on the Mountain Parkway, heading over toward Clay City. If you're out this evening, we've got temperatures that will be mainly upper 70s to low 80s early, dropping toward 70 by the time we roll toward 11 o'clock. Focus of the forecast when I come back is on two things: steam and storms. We'll track both of them with the 7-day forecast in less than 10 minutes.
Chris, thank you. Police arrest a suspected jewelry thief after they say he broke into a business through the ceiling. Our county-by-county coverage begins in Madison County. 34-year-old Wilgus Johnson is charged with burglary. Police say he was arrested trying to pawn off one of the rings that was stolen from Boone Square Mini Mall. Johnson admitted to police that he had climbed on the roof of the building, entered through the ductwork, and fell through a ceiling panel. He told police he then kicked open a glass case and took jewelry from inside. And in Laurel County, deputies arrested a man accused of stealing car parts off another person's vehicle. Deputies were called out to the home on East Bernstadt early this morning. When they arrived, they say Timothy Simpson jumped into a creek and under a bridge. When the deputy caught up with him, he began fighting and cursing, but was eventually taken into custody. Simpson faces multiple charges, including criminal trespassing, theft by unlawful taking, and public intoxication.
Some new changes are underway at Transylvania University in Lexington. Demolition began this morning on two of the oldest residence halls to make way for new ones that will be coming soon. Mike Linden has the latest.
Big changes are already underway to the Transylvania University campus.
It's a bittersweet moment. There are lots of memories in both of those dorms, but we are excited to be moving forward to having brand new dorms for the class of 2016.
Clay and Davis halls have been open since 1964, but in 2 weeks' time, they'll be gone forever.
While both Clay and Davis halls are themselves nostalgic, students that I spoke to that lived in the residence halls say that while they'll miss the buildings, they'll always have the memories made inside to remember them.
I stayed on the third floor. You can see it right where the panels change, when the brick goes to white and then back to brick. That was my room right there, the one right next to it.
The new $7 million residence halls will hold 150 students each and will both feature suite-style rooms for students. Some students say they'll miss their first home on campus.
We came over here just to look at it, and I was like, man, just looking back 3-4 years ago, when I first got here, that was the first building I lived in. So just seeing that they're tearing it down, it's kind of crazy.
Some of the best friends that I've had in college I met in the hall there at Clay. Everyone that lived on that hall, we were all still great friends. So that's really the best experience that it was.
Campus officials say both new residence halls will open to students by the fall of 2016, both sporting brand new names. In Lexington, Mike Linden, WKYT.
The newest residence hall besides Clay and Davis halls opens this fall.
Follow WKYT online at WKYT.com. Join the conversation on Twitter and become a part of the WKYT Facebook family.
The search for two escaped prisoners focused on a small town in upstate New York after a report of a possible sighting of the killers.
Jill Wagner has the latest from Dannemora, New York.
Dozens of officers headed into the woods on foot in upstate New York, searching for two escaped inmates. Convicted killers David Sweat and Richard Matt have been missing since Saturday.
They could still be here, you know, in the area, that their getaway car or whatever it was didn't show up.
There's heavy police presence outside the village of Essex, 40 miles from the prison. Authorities said two suspicious people were in the area, but would not give any more details. Over the weekend, the inmates used power tools to cut their way out of the Clinton Correctional Facility, and investigators want to know how they got them. CBS News has learned prison employee Joyce Mitchell is among those being questioned.
About 5,000 people live in the town of Dannemora, which was built around the prison, and for more than a century, it's been the main employer in the area.
Rich Plumador worked at the prison for 35 years doing maintenance. It bothers him to think the prisoners may have had inside help.
It's a family oriented.
Residents Keith and Sharon Russell have never been nervous living here until now.
We are scared, yeah. I mean, it's when you're locking your doors when you leave, that's sad.
Still, the Russells say the prison is vital to the community. Jill Wagner, CBS News, Dannemora, New York.
Police say both men are extremely dangerous. Matt killed and dismembered his boss, Sweat, and his accomplices shot and killed a deputy sheriff.
Former House Speaker Dennis Hastert pleaded not guilty in federal court in Chicago today at his arraignment. Hastert is accused of trying to hide hush money payments and lying about them to the FBI. Prosecutors say Hastert agreed to pay someone $3.5 million to cover up past misconduct. Sources say Hastert paid the money to hide sexual misconduct with a former male student. The Illinois Republican served as House Speaker from 1999 to 2007.
Just hours after a Senate TSA security hearing was evacuated because of a bomb threat, reporters were evacuated from the White House briefing room on the North Lawn. Reporters were moved into a tunnel that leads from the White House to another building, and Secret Service covered all media cameras. President Obama was not moved during the evacuation. Following the evacuation, the press secretary resumed the briefing, telling reporters they were evacuated because of a bomb threat called in to the briefing room.
The local police department contacted Secret Service officials who determined that for the safety of all of us, they needed to evacuate the room and to sweep it. Fortunately, here at the White House, the Secret Service maintains the resources that are necessary to quickly make the room safe and make sure that it's safe for all of us. And they did that quickly, and now we're ready to restart.
Police also cleared several floors of the Durskin Senate office building while they investigated the threat. Reporters were allowed to return after about an hour when the Senate building was given the all clear. It is time now for better living, health, education, and consumer news that impacts your life. School children get low marks when it comes to spreading germs, often sharing their bugs with their fellow classmates. So scientists decided to find out if adding hand sanitizers to classrooms would mean fewer children miss school because of illness. Holly Furfer explains in today's Health Minute.
Adding hand sanitizer dispensers to classrooms did not appear to drop absentee rates for elementary school children, according to a new study. Researchers in New Zealand recruited about 70 primary schools, assigning half to a control group in which children washed their hands with soap and water. The other students were part of an intervention group that not only used soap to wash, but were also asked to use classroom hand sanitizers when they coughed, sneezed, and before meals. Children in both groups were given a half-hour hand hygiene lesson. After following students for 20 weeks, researchers found the absentee rates between the two groups were virtually the same. The study results support similar findings from previous studies. So what is the takeaway for schools and parents? The CDC says it's best to have children wash their hands with soap and water. But if that's not available, a hand sanitizer with an alcohol concentration of at least 60% is a good second choice. For today's Health Minute, I'm Holly Furfer.
An historic high for American job openings. The Labor Department says the number of job openings rose to 5.4 million by the end of April. That's the most since the federal government started tracking it back in 2000. Most of those were in the healthcare and social assistance industries. USA Today reports 1.6 unemployed workers for each job opening in April. That number was almost 7 during the 2009 economic crisis. New Apple updates can give some very intimate information to your iPhone. A set of health kit features are part of Apple's upcoming iOS 9 release this fall. The apps will allow users to track their reproductive health. Apple says the data is kept private by default, but a user can send it to their doctor or anonymously provide it to physicians for research. The app is part of an effort by Apple to create more software for female users. A preview of the iOS 9 will be available to test in July.